Hi, Year 9. We're here again in lockdown 2 this time. Now, this video is for those of you who weren't in to do lesson 5 earlier this week, so you can't do your health check. So you need to finish off lesson 5 or do lesson 5, which basically is all to prepare for your health check. The question that you're answering is, how did the Russian Revolution happen? How did basically the October Revolution in 1917 happen? Which is the inquiry that we've actually been working on for the last couple of weeks. So should be pretty easy for you. Now, just a warning to everybody as you're watching this video, my dog is also sat here in the room with me. Her name is Mila. So if you hear a dog barking or whatever, that's Mila. She may also appear by my side at some point and want to see what's going on. So if she appears on the screen, it's my dog. The lesson, as I was saying, is lesson 5. I'm going to show it to you on the screen now. So this is the lesson that you should be doing in your workbook. How did the Russian Revolution happen? Now you're going to start like we always do by reading the keywords and the definitions which are there at the top of the page. Causation, dynasty, and Romanovs. Causation, dynasty, Romanovs. Okay? And then you're going to get on with the Quizlet task underneath. Answer questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And with the timeline, you should be putting those in chronological order. Okay? Pause the video now and do that. It should take you at least 3 minutes. So you should be able to see now the answers on the screen. Year 9 to the Quizlet. Russia did not win the Russo-Japanese War. Japan did. And it did not finish in 1908 either. It finished in 1905. It went from 1904 to 1905. Sorry if you can hear Mila again in the background. She's currently destroying a teddy. An important underlying cause of the Russian Revolution was World War I. And you'll also see there that the time periods are in order too. What you need to, and also the events, and I've given you the dates, the years as well. What you need to do now is pause the video, take out a green pen and tick or correct your answers. Take out a green pen and tick or correct your answers. Pause the video now, 1 minute. Okay, once you have done that, you're going to move straight on to the next task, which looks like this. Now, we've done this sort of thing. It's annoying, I didn't want it like that. We've done this sort of thing before. What you are doing is connecting up. We'll leave it like that. What you are doing is connecting up the blue boxes to explain how the yellow box happens. So we're trying to get to the October Revolution in 1917. And the blue boxes around the outside are all causes of the October Revolution. That's the one when the Bolsheviks, the Communist Party in Russia, take over from the Duma, the new government that was made up of the Tsar's friends that was created after the March Revolution. So we're trying to explain how the October Revolution in 1917 happened. They go roughly in chronological order, starting with the first box at the top there, 1894, a autocratic monarch, Tsar Nicholas II, rules Russia. So you start effectively with the box that I have just put a box around, okay? That's where you're going to start. And you're going to make connections, as I said. Now, clearly, you can make connections from one to the other because, as I said, These all go in chronological order. So you might do one there. You might do another one here, making another connection, because autocratic rule, people get really angry at that in Russia, which leads to January 1905, Bloody Sunday, when unarmed protesters are shot dead. Also, the death of, also could say it leads to the Russia-Japanese War, but actually that's happened before, so maybe actually that's not a good example. You might also say, however, that the Russo-Japanese War leads with that as well to the First Russian Revolution. So here's where you can make different connections, not just the ones that are next to each other. For instance, you might say that the Tsar's autocratic rule also links with the First Russian Revolution. And I might draw another arrow like that, going straight from there to there. You might also say that these two things together, Bloody Sunday and the Russia-Japanese War, they both together lead to the First Russian Revolution. So maybe I could draw an arrow from this one to this one, and then off my arrow, well, I might have another arrow coming off it, showing that also those two together, not just on their own, lead to the First Russian Revolution. So what you're doing is making as many connections here as you can between the blue boxes, but you can only connect one blue box to the yellow box. You can only connect one blue box to the yellow box. Pause the video here and complete that task now. Should take you about 5 minutes. Okay, so once you've done that, if we think carefully, we can actually kind of use this Year 9 as a plan to our essay. Because really what you're saying is that this here, or the first cause that we had, oops, sorry, one second. The first cause, which we had listed there at the top, the Tsar is an autocratic monarch. Well, we might say that, well, that becomes our root cause. So this would be our root cause. Because that leads to, as we've already said, the Russian Revolution. Because people are pretty annoyed and they want a change because of autocracy. And together with the Russo-Japanese War, that leads to Bloody Sunday, where unarmed protesters are shot. So we can draw a line connecting those two. And then those things together lead to then the First Russian Revolution in 1905. So these, we might say, form our first paragraph. That was a bit unneat, wasn't it? Let's try that again. Those, we might say, form our first paragraph. In fact, I'm just going to write it. These might all be paragraph 1, which will be on root causes, because they're things that cause kind of long-term anger, long-term resentment towards the Tsar. And obviously, the Tsar then doesn't really change enough. He introduces the Duma, the new parliament, like we spoke about in lessons in 1906, but there's not really enough change for people. So that long-term resentment, the root cause, still exists after 1906. Now, that wouldn't maybe have been a problem had it not been for World War I, which then would form, I think, our second paragraph on underlying causes. Now, we know that 1914 to 1917, as it says, Russian soldiers are very badly supplied during the war. Not only is there not enough food, there are stories of Russian soldiers having to share one gun between two men, or Russian soldiers being told to take the boots off their dead comrades. That means the men they're fighting with, all women actually in the Russian army, so that they can, well, reuse their boots. So the Russian army were chronically, that means really badly, undersupplied, which as a result means that, if I scroll this page down a little bit, means that Germany, can I do that? Means that, oh, my laptop's promptly crashed now. Bear with me, year 9. Right, there we go. Fortunately, it's not going to move with it, but you get the idea. What that means, have I got a rubber here? Erase it, there we go. What that means is that because they're really badly supplied, Russia does really badly in the war. So it means that Germany captures Poland from Russia. They especially do badly against Germany. And as a result of that, the Tsar takes command of the army in 1916. And as we know, he leaves that weirdo Rasputin in charge with the Tsarina. The nobles turn against him because they're like, what are you playing at? We should be in charge. Not this strange mystic man from Siberia who you and your wife have come to rely on. And now you leave your wife alone with him. Suspicious. So that turns the nobles against him. So now we have a situation where the war is going badly. Russian soldiers are dying in their millions because they're badly supplied. They've lost Poland. Again, just highlighting how badly the war is going for Russia. And now the Tsar has left for the front to fight, to lead the army, and left somebody that the nobles hate in charge. So the nobles, as well as the people, are now beginning to turn against the Tsar. Now, it doesn't get any better for the Tsar after the war. Perhaps when he took over, perhaps if the battles and things had started to go better, well, people might have come onto the Tsar's side. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Millions of soldiers continue to die after 1916. And because all of that food is being directed to the soldiers on the front, there are severe food shortages in Russia. Millions are starving and millions of soldiers are dying. And now all of the blame for that, oops, I'll undo that and try that again. I'm finding this very hard to draw. And then all of the blame for that is delivered towards the Tsar, because the Tsar has now taken control of the army. So the people and the nobles blame the Tsar for all of these problems that are continuing in the war, even though it wasn't his fault initially. So I think here then, year 8, year 9 even, that really is your paragraph 2. And here you're going to talk about underlying causes of the Russian Revolution. Paragraph 3 then, I would focus on triggers. So all of this stuff, the resentment about Tsar Nicholas being an autocratic ruler, so we can draw a line from the first one to here and maybe link that to our yellow box. I'm going to cheat here, actually. I'm going to do more than one to the yellow box. Sorry, not sorry. So we could link that to the October Revolution. And also, all of these things that I've then linked together about World War I, well, they lead to the March Revolution. Of course, I could also draw an arrow from here, because not only is it happening because of what's happening in World War I, but it's also happening because the nobles have turned against the Tsar due to him leaving Rasputin in charge with the Tsarina. So all of those things lead to the March Revolution in 1917, when the Tsar is forced to abdicate and a new government is created. But of course, that new government is unpopular because it is the Tsar's friends who are leading that government. It is not people chosen by the Russian people. And not enough change has happened. Plus, Russia is still in the war. They lose another battle to Germany, the Battle of Riga in 1917. And all those things together, therefore, lead to the October Revolution. I think that then becomes your triggers. And I'm aware at this point that it's looking a bit messy, but that is paragraph 3. Okay? Your triggers will come up in paragraph 3. All right. I was hoping that was going to disappear. Alas. Anyway, I'm going to pause this video for a sec and work out how I can get rid of it all. So shortly, you're going to go and answer your health check question. How did the Russian Revolution happen? I would actually use this diagram that we just did all those annotations on as your plan. Paragraph 1, the root causes. Well, there we're talking about the autocracy in Russia that leads to, and the failure in the Russo-Japanese War, that leads to Bloody Sunday, which triggers the first revolution. And then in 1906, the fact that the Tsar doesn't actually change anything or improve. Then 1914 to 1917, Russia's World War I would be using that to talk about the underlying causes of the Russian Revolution, namely the war itself, the fact it goes badly due to Russia being undersupplied, then the Tsar taking over in 1916, things don't get better afterwards, the people blame the Tsar, the people want to get rid of the Tsar, as well as now the nobles, because they don't like Rasputin, who's been left in charge with the Tsarina. And then finally, your third paragraph, the triggers, well, that's autocracy feeding into this, because remember, that's still our root cause that keeps on bubbling up and causing issues in Russia. But also the fact that the new parliament is led by the Tsar's friends. It's not a parliament chosen by the people. They continue to fight the war against Russian people's wishes, and it continues to go badly. The final nail in the coffin, or if we were going to use our analogy from Alphonse the Camel, that weird video we watched earlier in this cycle, the straw that broke the camel's back was the defeat at Riga by Germany of the Russian army. That leads to the Bolshevik October Revolution. And the rest, as they say, is history. So I would use this as a plan. If you go on to the next page, you will see in your workbook that there is a model paragraph. The next job is to read that model paragraph and fill in the blanks. You'll notice there are some bits of evidence missing. Why are we doing this? Well, it will help us to recap our knowledge, and you can see what a good paragraph looks like, what a good answer looks like. So pause the video, read the model paragraph, and fill in the blanks. Should take you about 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give the answers. The evidence should read, Tsar Nicholas, Nicholas II, was crowned in 1894. The Tsar was advised by his Council of Nobles, but he made all final decisions about how Russia was governed. The Tsar's power was challenged during the First Russian Revolution in 1905, which was sparked by Bloody Sunday. Afterwards, the Tsar introduced reforms which created the Duma Parliament in 1906. Once you have done that, if you need to, I've given you a little bit of space underneath the question there, which we will answer in a sec. How did the Russian Revolution happen? If you would like to plan your answer there, then by all means, I would suggest that you plan at least 3 paragraphs, 1 paragraph on root causes, a 2nd paragraph on underlying causes, and a 3rd paragraph on triggers of the Russian Revolution. So you can plan your answer in that space at the bottom. But if you're ready to make a start on the question, I'm going to show you some sentence starters and structures that you could use now. So these are the sentence starters basically that, oops, try that again. These are the sentence starters that I would use. I've split them into levels of difficulty, and they also link to our levels when we're using AFEs at school. So the yellow at the far end would be an emerging or developing level piece of work. Green in the middle would be a proficient level piece of work, and purple on the right hand side you're right, would be a sophisticated level piece of work, all answering the question, how did the Russian Revolution happen? Now, you're going to do this work in your prep book for me, or if you don't have your prep book on you, on a piece of paper, because when you come back into school, you're going to need to put it inside your assessment folder. So if it's in your prep book, we'll be able to pull it out and put it inside, or on a separate piece of paper, again, works the same. Just to be really clear, in Proficient, that's what we were talking about really before when we were looking at planning this answer. We've split it into root, underlying, and trigger causes, and a paragraph on each one. Now, again, as you saw in the model paragraph that you've just read, I'm not expecting really one sentence on evidence. There were 5 or 6 sentences on evidence there, with about 7, 8, possibly even 9 or 10 facts, detailed facts, dates, people, statistics, things that happened. I need detail, and as much detail as possible. I've said this to you many times before, but you need to think of your paragraphs in history like you are having an argument with someone at home. You don't give one reason, you give 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, as many as you can to prove that you are right and they are wrong. And history is just professional arguing. You need to give as many reasons why you are right as you can. So please don't just give me one sentence with facts, 1 or 2 facts in. Rubbish, waste of my time and your time. 5 or 6 sentences, I would suggest, in your evidence section. And probably similar in your explain, as you saw. There was lots of detail again in the model paragraph that we looked at a short time ago. A warning there as well. I will be marking these pieces of work with that model paragraph in front of me, and I'll know if you've copied it from the model paragraph because I wrote it. Anyway, at the top end, if you're aiming for a sophisticated piece of work, use the purple box. Now, I've wanted to give you a little bit of flexibility there. We spoke about this when we were doing our lessons on World War I, where we said that actually we might want to start somewhere else. We might not want to start with autocracy in Russia. We might want to start with a story about an event that happens in World War I, for instance. You might want to chop and change where you put things. You might want to talk about what triggered the first Russian Revolution first and why it doesn't happen or successfully in 1905 and does happen successfully in October 1917. So that structure is quite free and open on purpose to give you that flexibility if you want to. But I still expect you to be following a basic claim paragraph structure. You also might want to write more than 3 paragraphs in the sophisticated level. That's fine. I've said at least 3, so minimum 3. Same goes for change words. I've listed that you, or said that you need to include at least 5. 5 is a minimum. You should be help or trying to include many, many more than that if you can, because it will enhance your answer that much more and make it really pop. This should take you a large chunk of time. We're talking 30 minutes at least. So pause the video here and write your answer.